Elias Rowan had flown cargo ships for most of his adult life, and in all those years, space had taught him one simple rule. When everything looks calm, something is about to go wrong. The wayward signal was cruising quietly through a narrow trade route at the edge of map space. The ship was old but reliable, patched together with care and stubborn human engineering. Elias trusted it more than most people. He was alone on this trip, delivering spare components and food supplies to a small research outpost. It was supposed to be easy money. He was halfway through checking fuel readings when the stars outside the forward window flickered. Elias frowned. Stars were not supposed to flicker. Before he could react, the ship shuddered. Lights dimmed, then flared back to life. A sharp warning sound filled the bridge as the navigation screen filled with error symbols. "Come on," Elias muttered, moving to the controls. "Not now." The jump drive indicator glowed red. The ship had not just drifted off course. It had fallen out of known space completely. The star patterns outside were unfamiliar. No known systems. No mapped lanes. His long-range comms showed nothing but static. Elias leaned back in his chair and let out a slow breath. This was bad, but not impossible. Humans had a long history of surviving mistakes far worse than this. He started running diagnostics, hoping the drive could recalibrate. That was when the proximity alarm screamed. 3 massive shapes appeared on the sensor display, surrounding the wayward signal with frightening speed. Elias' hands froze over the controls. They were ships, but unlike anything human engineers had ever designed. Smooth, curved hulls reflected light like liquid metal. No visible weapons, no exhaust trails, no obvious weak points. Elias swallowed hard. "Unknown vessels," he said aloud, forcing himself to stay calm. "This is a civilian cargo ship. I am unarmed." There was no response. Instead, a soft blue light spread across his bridge, passing through metal and glass as if they were not there. Every system shut down at once. The hum of the engines died. Gravity faded, then returned gently. The last thing Elias saw was the light growing brighter. Then everything went dark. He woke slowly, his head aching but his body otherwise fine. He was lying on a smooth floor that felt warm beneath his palms. The air was clean and carried a faint floral scent. Elias pushed himself upright and looked around. He was in a vast circular chamber. The walls curved upward into a dome filled with softly glowing patterns that shifted like slow clouds. Tall figures stood around him in a wide ring, watching silently. They were aliens. They stood taller than humans, with slender builds and long limbs. Their skin glowed softly in shades of blue, violet, and gold, changing color with their movements. Their faces were unfamiliar but not frightening. Large, dark eyes reflected light like polished glass. Elias felt fear rise in his chest, but it was mixed with something else. Curiosity. One of the aliens stepped forward. This one glowed brighter than the rest, markings of light pulsing across its shoulders and chest in complex patterns. When it spoke, the sound was layered and musical, as if several voices were speaking together. Elias felt a faint vibration near his ear, and then a calm mechanical voice translated the sound into simple words. "Honored consort, welcome." Elias blinked. "I think there's a mistake." The alien tilted its head slightly, studying him. "You arrived through the sacred vector. That is no mistake." "I didn't arrive anywhere on purpose," Elias said carefully. "My jump drive malfunctioned." The translator paused for a moment before continuing. "Purpose is not required, only arrival." Several of the aliens shifted color, glowing brighter. A low hum filled the chamber, not threatening, but full of emotion Elias could not understand. "Look," Elias said, raising his hand slowly. "I don't know your laws, but I'm just a human pilot. I don't want trouble." The glowing alien stepped closer. "Your humility is noted." That made Elias uneasy. "What exactly do you think I am?" he asked. The alien's glow softened. "You are the bound one." Elias felt his stomach tighten. "Bound how?" The alien extended one long hand, its fingers trailing light. To me, by law, by tradition, and by witness. The translator finished the sentence clearly. As my husband. For a long moment, Elias said nothing. Then he laughed. It wasn't loud or joyful. It was the tired laugh of a man whose life had just taken a sharp turn into madness. "You've got the wrong species," he said. We don't do that by accident." The alien did not withdraw its hand. "The binding was completed the moment your vessel crossed the threshold." "I didn't agree to anything," Elias replied. "Agreement is expressed in many ways," the alien said calmly. "Survival is one of them." Elias rubbed his face. "So let me get this straight. I take a wrong jump and now I'm married." "Yes," the alien answered. "That's it. Yes." Elias looked around the chamber again. No guards, no restraints, just absolute confidence. "And if I say no?" he asked. The alien's colors dimmed slightly. "Refusal would cause severe instability." "How severe?" The alien paused. "Interstellar conflict, loss of life, collapse of treaties." Elias exhaled slowly. Humans had always been good at surviving dangerous situations, but this was new territory even for him. "So," he said carefully, "you're telling me the peaceful option is marriage?" "Yes." Elias stared at the glowing hand again. He had grown up on stories about first contact, about heroic battles or careful diplomacy. None of those stories had prepared him for this. "Do humans even matter to your people?" he asked. The alien's eyes focused sharply on him. "Very much so." That surprised him. "Why?" The alien's glow shifted into a deep, respectful tone. "Because humans endure what should destroy them. You adapt. You continue. You protect what is yours, even when the universe is hostile." Elias felt a strange tightening in his chest. "That doesn't mean I should be your husband," he said. The alien's voice softened. "It means you already are." Silence settled between them. Elias let out a slow breath. He was scared, confused, and completely out of control of the situation. But panic would not help. Humans had survived worse by thinking, not reacting. "All right," he said finally. "If this is real, then I want to understand it. No lies, no hidden rules." The alien inclined its head. "That is acceptable." Elias looked up at the glowing ceiling, then back at the alien. "Then I guess," he said quietly, "this is the weirdest delivery I've ever made." A faint ripple of light passed through the alien's form, something like amusement. Far beyond the chamber, ships moved. Messages were sent, and entire civilizations adjusted their expectations. Human space had no idea that a single pilot's mistake had just placed humanity at the center of a bond that could reshape the galaxy. And Elias Rowan, ordinary human freight pilot, had just become something far more important than he ever intended to be. Elias did not become important all at once. At first, he was simply escorted. The aliens guided him through wide halls that curved like living architecture. The walls glowed softly, changing color as people passed, reacting to movement and sound. Elias noticed that nothing had sharp corners. Everything felt designed to comfort rather than impress. That alone told him something important. This species did not build out of fear. The alien who had claimed him as a husband walked beside him. Up close, Elias could see more detail. Fine lines of light ran beneath their skin like veins made of energy. Their movements were calm and balanced, never rushed. "My name," the alien said after a moment, "is Salith." Elias nodded. "Elias Rowan." Salith repeated it carefully, each syllable precise. "Elias Rowan." Something about the effort made Elias relax a little. They entered a large chamber filled with floating symbols and translucent screens. Other aliens stood at a respectful distance, watching quietly. Elias noticed that whenever Salith moved, the others shifted aside without question. "So," Elias said, breaking the silence, "I guess you're important." Salith's colors shifted slightly. "I am a bond holder. My role is to connect." "Connect what? People, worlds, futures." Elias rubbed the back of his neck. "Of course you are." Salith turned to face him. "You are not afraid." Elias laughed softly. "I am very afraid, I just don't see the point in showing it." That answer caused a ripple of color through Salith's form. Interest, respect. "You are consistent with human records," Salith said. Elias paused. "You have records on humans." "Extensive ones," Salith replied. "Your species has appeared on the edges of our observation for generations." That surprised him. Humans still thought of themselves as new to the wider galaxy. "What do your records say about us?" Elias asked. Salith looked at him carefully. "That humans are unpredictable. Fragile by design, dangerous by choice." Elias blinked. "That sounds flattering and terrifying at the same time." "Yes." They approached a raised platform. Symbols appeared in the air around Elias, scanning him. He resisted the urge to step back. "This is a confirmation process," Salith explained, "to ensure the bond does not harm you." "Good to know someone's checking," Elias muttered. The symbols shifted from pale blue to soft green. Salith seemed to relax. "You are compatible." Elias exhaled. "Lucky me." As they moved on, Elias noticed something strange. Other aliens bowed slightly as they passed, not deeply but enough to show respect. Some directed it at Salith, others directed it at him. That made his skin prickle. "Why are they looking at me like that?" he asked quietly. Salith answered without hesitation. "Because you are human. That doesn't explain much." "It explains everything," Salith said. "Your species does not realize its weight." They entered a quieter room. Seating rose from the floor as they approached, forming shapes that adjusted to Elias' body automatically. He sat, grateful for the chance to rest. Salith remained standing. "You said refusal would cause war," Elias said. "Why?" Salith folded their hands. "Because the bond is not only personal, it is symbolic." "Symbolic of what?" "Trust." Salith projected an image into the air. It showed star systems, trade routes, borders marked by shifting lines of light. "Our region of space is stable," Salith said. "But stability requires anchors, bonds that prevent collapse. And I'm an anchor now." "Yes." Elias stared at the image. "Because I took a wrong turn." "Because you arrived," Salith corrected gently. Elias leaned back. "You could have chosen someone else." "We did," Salith said. "Many times, none survived the threshold." That made Elias sit up. "Survived?" Salith's glow dimmed. "The sacred vector filters for resilience. Humans possess it in abundance." Elias thought of human history, of mistakes turned into survival stories, of stubborn refusal to stop. "Okay," he said slowly. "So what does this mean in real terms? Am I trapped here?" "No," Salith replied. "You may leave, travel, return to your people." "Then why would they care?" "Because you will return," Salith said simply. Elias felt a strange weight settle on him. "You expect me to go back and tell humans I'm married to an alien," he said. "Yes," he snorted. "They're going to think I lost my mind." Salith's eyes softened. "Humans often believe truth is madness until it saves them." That was uncomfortably accurate. "What happens if humans reject this?" Elias asked. Salith was quiet for a moment. "Then the galaxy learned something unfortunate." Elias frowned. "Which is?" "That humans are no longer unpredictable," Salith said. "And predictability invites exploitation." Elias felt something cold twist in his chest. "You're saying this bond protects us?" "Yes." He stared at the glowing star map again. "By making me a target." "By making you visible," Salith corrected. Elias thought about pirates avoiding human ships because they fought back, about humans being underestimated until they adapted. Visibility had always been a double-edged blade. "You don't even know me," Elias said. "We know enough," Salith replied. "You did not attack. You did not lie, you did not beg, you sought understanding." "That's just being human," Salith's glow brightened. "Exactly." Time passed differently there. Elias was given food that adjusted itself to human biology. He was shown records, histories, and translations. He asked questions, lots of them, and every answer made one thing clear. The wider galaxy saw humans not as weak newcomers but as a force that refused to disappear. Eventually, Salith walked with him to a wide window overlooking the stars. Elias recognized nothing out there yet felt strangely calm. "You may return to your ship," Salith said. Elias turned. "You're letting me go?" "Yes." Just like that, Salith met his eyes. "You will choose what comes next. That choice matters." Elias nodded slowly. "I need to talk to my people." Salith inclined their head. "We will wait." As Elias walked back toward the transport chamber, he realized something important. This was not a cage, it was an invitation. And humanity had just been handed a place at a table far larger than it ever imagined. The galaxy was watching now, not because humans were dangerous, but because one human had proven they were worth trusting. Elias returned to the wayward signal with a head full of thoughts and a future that no longer felt like his own. The alien technology restored his ship gently, like a careful hand fixing something valuable. Power returned. Systems came online. The navigation map updated with a marked route back toward human space, highlighted in calm green light. Salith stood at the edge of the hangar platform, watching him prepare to leave. "You will come back," Salith said. It was not a command. It was certainty. Elias paused at the ship's ramp. "Yeah," he replied. "I will." The hangar lights dimmed as the wayward signal lifted off, guided by alien signals until the stars blurred and space folded around the ship. When the jump ended, familiar constellations filled the forward window. Home. That word felt strange now. Human space traffic control did not notice anything unusual at first. Elias filed his delayed arrival report. He blamed a navigation fault. That explanation went through standard review channels without much interest. It was not until Elias requested a direct meeting with the Terran Diplomatic Council that things changed. The request alone raised alarms. When he finally sat in a secure room facing a group of human officials through a hololink, Elias looked tired but steady. He told them everything. The misjump, the alien ships, Salith, the bond. At first there was silence, then disbelief, then questions layered over questions. "You're saying you're married," one official said slowly, "to a non-human entity that claims this prevents galactic instability." "That's right," Elias replied. "And you expect us to accept this without evidence?" Elias leaned forward. "You already have the evidence. My ship's logs, the jump signatures, the navigation route they gave me. You know I couldn't fake that." The room fell quiet again. A scientist cleared her throat. "The energy readings alone are impossible by our current understanding." Another official spoke. "Why you?" Elias did not hesitate. "Because I survived." That answer landed heavier than he expected. Humans had built their entire expansion on survival, against vacuum, against distance, against mistakes. The council ordered full analysis. Messages were sent. Quiet alerts moved through military and scientific networks. Within days, human space knew one thing for certain. They were not alone, and the galaxy already knew them. Meanwhile, far beyond human borders, Salith waited. The bond between them did not pull or command, but it existed. A gentle awareness, like knowing someone was thinking of you from far away. Other alien leaders gathered, their forms glowing in careful patterns. "The human delays," one said. "They always do," Salith replied calmly. "They consider. Consideration can turn into refusal. Or into resolve," Salith answered. Salith had studied humans long before Elias arrived. The records showed a species that argued fiercely among itself, then stood together when it mattered most. Patience was required. On Earth, Elias became the most interviewed man in history. At first, it was controlled. Closed sessions, secure briefings. Then leaks happened, as they always did. The story spread through human networks, changing shape with each telling. Some laughed, some denied, some were afraid. Elias avoided public appearances, but he did not hide. When asked directly if the story was true, he answered simply. Yes, that honesty did more than any speech. Human scientists confirmed the alien signals, explorers verified the route, no weapons followed, no threats, only watching eyes. They're not invading, one analyst said. They're waiting. That made many people uneasy. Waiting implied expectation. The council met again. This time Elias was not alone. Experts stood beside him, linguists, engineers, psychologists. Elias spoke last. They didn't force me, he said. They could have, they didn't. They gave me a choice and they're giving us one now. What choice? Someone asked. To be seen, Elias replied, or to stay small and quiet and hope nobody notices us later. That sparked debate. Humans were divided, but one truth became clear as discussion stretched on. The galaxy already knew what humans could endure. Hiding would not erase that. Finally, a message was prepared. Not a demand, not a surrender, an introduction. Elias recorded it himself. "My name is Elias Rowan," he said into the camera. "I am human. I am bonded to Salith of the Concordance. I speak now by my own will and with the consent of my people." The message spoke of peace, curiosity, and caution, of mutual respect, of humans not seeking dominance, only survival with dignity. When it was sent, space felt quieter. The response came within minutes, not words. A shared star map appeared across human systems, highlighting trade paths, danger zones, and regions marked clearly as protected. No threats, no demands, just information. Human analysts stared at the data in disbelief. "They're giving us everything," one whispered. "Not everything," another corrected. "Enough." Elias felt the shift immediately. Salith's presence felt warmer, closer. When the invitation arrived, this time formal and open, Elias accepted without hesitation. A human delegation accompanied him through the same route, ships carefully guided by alien signals. No one fired a shot. No one raised a shield. They arrived at the Concordance's central station and were welcomed openly. Salith met Elias at the entrance, their glow steady and bright. "You chose," Salith said. "We did," Elias replied. Humans and aliens stood together in shared space for the first time, not as enemies or strangers, but as cautious equals. The talks lasted days. Knowledge flowed both ways. Human adaptability impressed the Concordance. Alien stability amazed humanity. Again and again, one idea surfaced. Humans were not feared because they were violent. They were respected because they endured change without breaking. At one point, Elias stood alone with Salith, watching delegates move below. "You could have chosen someone easier," Elias said quietly. "Yes," Salith agreed. "But ease does not shape the future." Elias smiled faintly. "Figures. You carry doubt," Salith observed. "I carry responsibility," Elias corrected. "There's a difference." Salith considered that. "Humans name burdens instead of avoiding them." "We don't have a choice," Elias said. "Someone always has to carry it." Salith's glow softened. "And that is why the bond holds." When the delegation returned to human space, everything felt different. Humans were no longer just explorers on the edge of the dark. They were participants. Trade began. Shared research followed. Slowly, carefully, the galaxy adjusted. Elias did not become a ruler or a hero. He became a bridge. And bridges, he learned, were not meant to stand still. They were meant to carry others safely across. As the stars continued to turn, one truth became impossible to ignore. What started as a simple mix-up had done something rare. It had made humanity visible. And the galaxy, at last, was ready to meet them. The galaxy did not change overnight. That was the first thing Elias learned after everything settled into motion. There were no sudden celebrations, no perfect unity, no single moment where fear vanished. Instead, change came quietly, carried on routine messages, new trade routes, shared research files, and cautious meetings held in neutral space. Humans adjusted the way they always did, slowly at first, then all at once. Elias remained at the center of it, not because he wanted power, but because the bond made him impossible to ignore. Wherever humans and the concordance met, his presence was requested. Not demanded, requested. That mattered. He spent long days traveling between stations, sometimes human, sometimes alien, often mixed. He listened more than he spoke. That, too, turned out to be a very human strength. Salith accompanied him when possible. To many humans, seeing Salith in person was unsettling at first. The glowing skin, the calm certainty, the way Salith seemed to observe everything at once. But fear faded quickly. Salith asked questions, honest ones, about human art, about humor, about why humans continued to explore even when there was nothing to gain but danger. "We are curious," Elias explained once, during a quiet moment overlooking a shared observation deck. "And curiosity doesn't shut off just because it's risky." Salith considered that. "That trait has shaped much of your history." "Yeah," Elias said, "for better and worse." "Yet you continue," Salith replied. "That is why others watch you." As months passed, the galaxy tested the bond not through threats but through pressure. Smaller powers began to push boundaries. Trade disputes arose. Old grudges resurfaced. Everyone watched to see how humans would react now that they were no longer invisible. Elias felt the weight of it more than anyone. One incident stood out. A minor trade lane dispute between two non-human groups threatened to collapse into isolation. Not conflict, just withdrawal. The kind of slow damage that destroyed cooperation. Both sides requested mediation, not from Salith, from Elias. He almost refused. "I'm not trained for this," he said quietly. Salith's glow was steady. "You are experienced. At flying cargo ships. At understanding consequences," Salith replied, "and at speaking plainly." So Elias went. He listened to complaints that sounded painfully familiar. Fear of being exploited, fear of losing autonomy, fear of being replaced. When it was his turn to speak, he did not use careful diplomatic language. "We humans have messed this up before," Elias said. "A lot. We rushed. We assumed. We overreacted. But we learned something." Both sides focused on him. "When you pull back out of fear, you don't get safety," he continued. "You get smaller, and sooner or later something bigger notices." There was silence. "You don't need to trust each other fully," Elias finished. "Just enough to keep talking." The agreement held, not because Elias was powerful, but because he was honest. Word spread. Humans, it turned out, were good mediators, not perfect, but adaptable, willing to admit mistakes, willing to try again. That surprised the galaxy. Back on Earth, life continued. People still argued, still worried, still dreamed, but the night sky felt different now. Less empty, less silent. Children grew up knowing that humanity was not alone and that the first great bond had not been forged by war but by accident and patience. Elias visited Earth less often, but when he did, he walked its streets like any other person. He ate familiar food. He listened to old music. He remembered who he was before the stars changed him. One evening, standing on a quiet hill beneath Earth's sky, Elias spoke softly. "Sometimes I miss being ordinary." Salith stood beside him, their glow dim to avoid drawing attention. "Ordinary is not lost," Salith said. "It is expanded." Elias smiled. "You really are good with words." "I learned from you," Salith replied. They stood in silence, watching stars that no longer felt unreachable. Years passed. The bond endured, not as a chain, but as a shared understanding. Elias aged slowly. Salith changed differently, their kind measuring time in patterns rather than years. The difference did not weaken the bond. If anything, it strengthened it. Human technology grew faster with shared knowledge. Not because aliens handed them power, but because humans used what they were given creatively, sometimes recklessly, always persistently. The Concordance learned something in return. Humans did not seek perfection, they sought progress. That made them valuable partners. Near the end of his active years, Elias returned once more to the place where everything began. The same chamber, the same warm floor. The same quiet hum of light. He stood at the center, older now, lines marking his face, but his eyes still steady. "You changed the pattern," one elder said gently. "I just showed up," Elias replied. "That is how most important things begin," Salith said. Elias looked around the chamber. "Do you ever regret choosing me?" Salith did not answer immediately. "No," Salith said at last, "because you never tried to be more than human." Elias laughed softly. "I wouldn't know how." "That is why it worked," Salith replied. When Elias finally stepped away from the center of galactic attention, others took his place. Human diplomats, scientists, explorers, ordinary people doing extraordinary things simply by continuing forward. The galaxy adjusted again, not because humans demanded space, but because they earned trust. Long after Elias Rowan was remembered only in records and quiet stories, the bond remained, not as a marriage in the human sense, but as a symbol, a reminder that the first true bridge between worlds was built by mistake, that humanity's greatest strength was not force but endurance, and that when the universe finally noticed humans, it did not see conquerors. It saw survivors. It saw listeners. It saw a species that, when given a place among the stars, chose connection over fear. And so the galaxy made room, not because it had to, but because it wanted to. What started as a simple mix-up ended with a human becoming an alien's husband. HFY Sci-Fi HFY.